Welcome to the Pulse with Peter or me. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And today's show is brought to you by the Pilsner House and Beer Garden. Go visit our friends at 1422 Grand Street. Have a beer, have a pretzel, make fun of Josh because he's going to be stuffing his face as usual there, and also have a great time. But I'm super excited this week because after 3 weeks of having the legendary, I want to call him, Bobby Blackjack on the air, and Bobby, you will be back very, very soon. We have another Pulse premiere, and that is our guest sports insider this week, Mr. Joey Jarzynka. Joey, how are you today, sir?
Peter, thank you so much for having me here. I truly appreciate it.
Exactly. And you hear that like robust voice? I thought I was usually the one that does that, but you know, we have another professional in here today. I absolutely love it. All right. The Big East tournament is here. We are about a week away. The women's Big East tournament is happening right now, as you know. So that's always exciting. We'll see. UConn is not as good as they normally are, so we'll see what happens there. We covered the Seton Hall Pirates a lot, my alma mater, you know, and I think New Jersey's best top college basketball program, correct? They are, as of this filming, on a 4-game win streak. Do you believe that they can carry this momentum in the Big East tournament and more specifically into the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Peter. I think that you look at what Seton Hall has continued to go through for as long as Kevin Willard has been the head coach for, and January has been an absolute disaster for him. Dating back to 2015-16, in January, he's 24-25. Then once the calendar turns to February, it's a completely different team. And the problem is, though, this season is that point guard Bryce Aiken has a season-ending concussion. Wow. And now the problem is for Seton Hall is that who's going to back up Kadari Richmond, the junior guard transfer out of Syracuse? Right? Yeah, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem to see. But right now, things have gotten a little bit on the right track. And in the game against St. John's, actually, the Walsh Gymnasium contest, that was a big deal. The one that Kevin
Willard, right, he criticized. Remember that?
Well, listen, Peter, he always criticizes playing inside Walsh Gymnasium because he always says, I hate it here, I can't stand it here.
Right.
It's just not, there's just not enough room. So the problem was that he had about 1,500 of his own students there cheering them on, and they didn't even show up. But Kadari Richmond also didn't show up in that game. After that, we got a chance to see an entire different Pirates team that really just flicked a switch. And after that, it got better for them. I do believe that heading into the Big East tournament, things are going to be a lot better for them. And also, we saw last night against Georgetown, senior night, 45%. They did have a little bit of trouble against Patrick Ewing's Georgetown Hoyas. Keep in mind, this is a team that, you know, you don't really want to go up against like Georgetown next week, which most likely it will happen in that 6-11 game, but they played them well. I don't expect anything to go awry on, you know, the first round of Wednesday, but expect a tough road. I think that it's going to be smooth sailing down the stretch into the NCAA tournament for sure.
Very, very interesting. And Georgetown, the Ophers, as we call them. I mean, they haven't won a game in the Big East. I think they lost 19 in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think they're going to win one. I don't think so. I don't think so. And they had a chance against DePaul, and DePaul absolutely destroyed Georgetown.
That's right.
And it was, you know, and at one point, Georgetown began coming back. And obviously, the scoreboard says, yeah, it was a three-point victory. Not that much. It was a full DePaul win, and that was some good stuff against Georgetown.
Very, very interesting. Now, let's talk about maybe some of the surprises in the Big East this season. Obviously, the Providence Friars. I mean, they did lose to Villanova twice. However, nobody expected Ed Cooley's team to be where they are at today, correct?
Well, 23-4 is where they're at. And you look at what Ed Cooley has done this year. Al Durham, Jared Bynum, Nate Watson making sure that he comes back for a fifth season. Yeah, exactly. And I know Seton Hall Pirates fans never want to hear that name again after the 2021-22 season. There's no doubt about it, Peter, because he's been forced to be reckoned with throughout the entire conference. But we have to keep in mind, too, that there's two other teams that you didn't even say, Peter. Come on now.
I think it's UConn and Creighton.
Close. Marquette and DePaul.
I was way off.
Those two teams, DePaul, come in right now 15-15. Right now, they are 500. Keep in mind also, Marquette was selected to finish 9th in the Big East Conference.
Wow.
Right now, they are on their way to a Big East, or rather to an NCAA tournament berth. And right now, they are awfully close to securing that number 5 seed in the tournament. But they have lost 5 of their last 8. So it's going to be a little tough for Shaka Smart in his first season at the head
absolutely.
as head coaching.
Let's talk about the Big East tournament. So I think it's the most exciting time of the year. I know you think it is as well. And then, of course, the excitement ramps up the following week and for the NCAA tournament. You have a different type of format this year. I think we need to explain to the audience what the new format is. I think you kind of explained it a little bit earlier. And who do you think is going to be the elite class of the Big East? Who do you think is going to be raising the Big East championship next Saturday night in Madison Square Garden?
I think it's awfully tough to say because the Big East this year, everyone has been dominating each other. And I think if you look at the most dangerous team that can potentially make noise, it's the DePaul Blue Demons. But if you really want to say who is going to come out and win this, I think it might be Villanova yet again. If Providence does not get back Al Durham in time, we're going to see. It's going to be a tough one, but there's a lot of teams there that are going to be playing for their NCAA tournament lives. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a different Xavier team as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun because, like I said, everyone is beating up on each other.
Exactly. Now, of course, I mentioned the NCAA tournament happening a week later. I believe there will be about 6 to 7 Big East teams. Do you think I'm right about that?
I think that right now you should have 7 teams, but right now Xavier is playing themselves out of an NCAA tournament.
And Rutgers might be playing themselves in, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, what we've seen, Peter, with Rutgers, they look phenomenal. They just took down Indiana, a massive shot on the road.
Ronnie Harper Jr., right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
2.1 seconds to go.
Absolutely.
And the crazy part also is that Xavier, they have lost 7 of their last 8 and 5 in a row. A pair to Seton Hall and a pair to St. John's. It's something that you do not want to see. And last week it was last night, St. John's and Xavier. 0 for 10, Adam Kunkel, one of the guys that the leading scorers for this Xavier Musketeers team. He can't get it going. That team is a team to watch that could potentially play themselves out of an NCAA tournament bid.
Interesting. Well, they call it March Madness for a reason, Joey. So, it's because these number 1 seeds seldomly actually, win the actual championship. Who do you like in a tournament? Who do you think is a national sleeper going into the middle of March here?
I think Kentucky. Is a national sleeper that a lot of folks probably would not be saying is, Kentucky is always, really high on everyone's charts. But I think everyone's going to have Auburn this year. I think a lot of people are going to have Providence on their list. A lot of people are going to continue to have Gonzaga. Yep. But there's another team also that is another deep sleeper, in my opinion, in addition to who we said, Duke.
Of course.
Duke is another one.
Coach K's final season.
This is the swan song for Coach Krzyzewski. And there's no doubt about it that we heard a couple of reports, too, that he might be looking to play that regional in his hometown of Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Joey, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been very, very exciting. I want to see you back here in the future.
I think you have a good chance of that. Peter, thank you so much for having me.
You heard it here first. So, that's a promise, right? Or a guarantee. Same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty close. Thank you, Peter.
Exactly. Thank you. And have fun with all these tournament games. He'll be at every tournament. Look in the media section, folks. You'll see Joey there. Absolutely.
It's going to be tons of fun. Can't wait.
Exactly. All right, folks. When we come back, Josh Sotomayor-Einstein has a very, very special guest in studio. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com.
Welcome back. I'm your host of this segment of The Pulse without Peter B, because I'm a better host. And thank you so much for watching today. We have a very special guest in this segment, Councilwoman from Hoboken, Jennifer Giattino. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, that's great. I think I'm a pleasure as well, and I think you're a pleasure. Much better than my usual friend, Peter B. So let's get into things in Hoboken. I know that you have been involved in homeless advocacy, and I, as a resident of Washington Street, feel like I've also been involved in homeless advocacy. So can you talk to us about, are there more homeless? Are there less homeless? What's being done in terms of outreach to try to get them housed or off the street or into a program or something to increase their quality of life and my quality of life?
Absolutely. So, because I run into you all the time on the street, the way I kind of operate as a council person is boots on the ground. I'm not a huge email sender outer, but, blaster. But I love walking the streets, seeing what the issues are, talking to people, seeing, what they want to improve their lives in Hoboken, quality of life issues. And probably about 8 years ago, in my walks, I just started talking to homeless people in the streets to try to understand, how did they end up where they are? What could be done for them? And it's really interesting because, residents call me all the time about there's a homeless person here, there's a homeless person there. But when you talk to these people, you get to see that they are real human beings. A lot of people just walk by and ignore them. And when you put a name to the face, it just changes everything. And last week, I went out with Reverend Forbes from the homeless shelter and did outreach, and also with Miriam Gonzalez from Garden State Episcopal. And when you watch professional social workers, in action, and how they can get these people that don't have homes on the street to talk to them and tell them their problems and, tell them what they need help with, it's amazing. But unfortunately, social workers are few and far between, one, because their salaries are so low, and that's probably the biggest reason. But there's definitely more homeless people in Hoboken now, and what is Hoboken doing about that? I asked to join the Hoboken task force. The homeless task force had to be 3.5 years ago. We had one meeting, and then we just never met again. So I just
probably due to COVID and whatnot.
No, it was before COVID.
Oh, because before
yeah,
COVID.
before
Wow,
COVID.
That's not good.
Yeah, no, and we met, and then COVID happened a year after that. Mm-hmm. And I understand during COVID not meeting necessarily, but the shelter itself does a lot of amazing work that people don't realize. I think it was between 2020 and 2022 they found housing for over 200 people, and that's during COVID. So it was 2 years that their numbers were down. That's a huge, huge number. I think our residents need to get more involved. Mm-hmm. And, the more people that volunteer at the shelter, that start noticing this and realizing these people are human beings, I think that's how you make a difference. We can have all these headlines, we can have all these programs, we can have the meters on Washington Street. That's not going to do anything.
That don't collect any money.
Yes.
Well, listen, it's like you said, my personal experience has been over the 15 or 16 years I've lived in town, there have been some wonderful people that I've got to know on the avenue, including some homeless people that were just absolutely wonderful human beings. And then there are some that I wish the police would arrest because they, one guy walked past me the other day and so turned to me and said, "I'm going to stab you one day." And I was like, well, that's good to know how I'm going to die. Now I know at least. Do you have an approximate time when? But
that could have been a regular person. That could have been a housed person as well, saying something crazy like that to you.
True. Fair point. Fair point. Not every person that looks homeless and is on the street is actually homeless.
No, I meant actually, a housed person
Wait, are you
could be crazy.
me right now? Is that what you're doing right now, live on air? You saw it on television with the Pulse, all right? But no, I 100% hear what you're saying in terms of doing outreach and volunteering. It's so important, and I think it's something that also brings the community together.
Absolutely.
But shifting gears to another topic in town, what are your thoughts on the city on their goal to do eminent domain on Pogey Press, not Piggy Press as I often accidentally call it, but Pogey Press, the building on the northwest-ish side of town that the administration wants to build a police station, DPW, parking lot, and et cetera?
So this all began with the Monarch, and if you look back a little bit further than that, it's Hoboken's probably the worst quality Hoboken government has is not looking at development holistically and looking at all the properties Hoboken owns, the properties it would like to acquire, how it would like to see development throughout town. Everything's always piecemealing. So when the city went to acquire the Monarch property, of course it wasn't we're just going to acquire the Monarch property. It was we're going to acquire the Monarch. We're going to give Applied the DPW site. They're going to give us a contaminated site at 8th and Monroe. And we're going to have to find somewhere for the DPW to go by November of 2024, find property for it, and build a DPW site or whatever this grand, municipal lot is on it. I voted no for the Monarch because forget about all the swapping that was going on. In the end, it was like, where are we going to put the DPW site? How can you be putting this before us without having a home for the DPW site and the funding lined up to build a new DPW?
Well, it's interesting because it reminds me of the street entertainers that have the 3 cups and the ball underneath, and you put money on and you bet it, and it's like which one the ball's in, and it's always a trick, and the person putting the money always gets let's say bent over, so to speak, and it seems like that's what's going to happen to Poggy Press and to the taxpayers of Hoboken, however this unfolds, wouldn't you say?
I would agree with you on that, Josh.
So we agree. We don't often agree. I don't know if anyone out there knows it, but we don't often agree.
No.
Yet we still manage to be cordial and friendly. And our last topic, we only got 2 minutes for this, so I apologize for that, is the issue of the abuse by the Ball administration of the Nixle alert system as well as the municipal website. I'm sure you're aware, he did a Nixle alert and a letter on the website slamming one of the council people, not you, that's
The
not
hit
policy.
piece.
Yeah, it's a hit piece. It's a hit piece. So how do you feel about taxpayer resources being used for political attacks instead of policy issues?
Right. Number one, Nixle should be used for emergency situations, letting people know about meetings, maybe even just throwing the agenda up on there that we're having a council meeting every 2 weeks. That would be great for residents to know. And ironically, on the way here, I was stopped 4 times just for conversation, and 3 of them were actually about the hit piece on Councilwoman Fisher. Like 3 people, 1 person used the word hit piece. That's why it was fresh in my brain.
Well, it's apropos.
But I think it's ridiculous. If I were not on the council and I was a member of the public, I would be going crazy about this. I mean, I have gone crazy about it in the past. It doesn't really get anywhere, but the members of the public shouldn't allow the mayor of Hoboken, or any mayor for that matter, use their funding for him to put his agenda out there or have hit pieces on other council members or anyone for that matter.
Well, 100% agree. And listen, I believe that moral corruption, is, whether it's legal or not, is still moral corruption. And it's not that I ever agree with Councilwoman Fisher. I 99.9% of the time probably disagree with her. But the fact is that our resources were used to attack her in a political hit piece, just as you say, just as somebody said to you. And I want to thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure. I hope you're willing to come back sometime.
It was a ton of fun. I definitely will be back.
Oh, I look forward to it. All you viewers out there in TV land, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Peter Biancamano back with you. Don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there.
Welcome back to The Pulse. I'm Leah Garcia.
And I'm Taylor Shaw.
And we are the H-Town Breakdown. Today we are actually celebrating our momentous 1-year anniversary.
Indeed we are. This year has been filled with so many memories, including the start of the H-Town Breakdown. Would you like to describe that a little bit, Leah?
Oh yes, well today marks the 1 year of just a company and a podcast that has interviewed some incredible people. Last week when I was on, I actually explained, the impetus behind the H-Town Breakdown, but I didn't go into too much depth on how much we've actually accomplished and done this year.
Yes, and that's what this episode is for, viewers. You will hear some insight on why we essentially started the H-Town Breakdown and came up with the idea to start our wonderful podcast, which we've had the pleasure to interview guests such as State Assemblywoman Ncaa Tournament, representing the 33rd District, which includes Hoboken, Councilman Phil Cohen, Councilwoman Emily Jabor, Rachel Ciccarella from Hoboken Grace Church.
Dylan
and
Zajax from Computers for People, and many more.
Many more to come for sure.
Oh, yes. We are manifesting that into the new year and what we will seek to accomplish. So, Taylor, tell us a little bit about, what the H-Town Breakdown has actually accomplished thus far.
Yeah, so I'm going to go into depth about the events that we hosted this past summer. Lee and I came up with the idea to kind of just bring the youth community of Hoboken outdoors and just bring everyone together, enjoying their lives, in a time where COVID wasn't as bad as it was or as it has been recently. And, just kind of bring everyone together after we've been away from each other for such a long time. So we came up with the idea to start a pickup soccer and kickball league, which was hosted every week this summer at the Mama Johnson and Frank Sinatra fields. And at each event, we got 40 to 50 teens coming out to support us.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you, it was a hit. We brought middle school kickball back to life. I mean, I hadn't played kickball since elementary, middle school. And then we saw, 50 teens coming out for 2.5 hours playing a good old game of kickball, I mean, the only arguments we had were, whether or not, you could roll the ball, it
was more logistics.
It was more the logistics. Yeah. But besides that, it was super fun, and so many people came out to have fun.
Yeah, it was really a hit. Everyone enjoyed it. People said how they would love to see this again over the summer, which hopefully we have the opportunity to do so, or even just provide the teens with new events that cater to their interests, because we really love doing these things. We came up with the H-Town Breakdown as an idea to just, like how we said before, to bring the community together in a time where everyone was away from each other. Everything was so divided, all events for teens were essentially suspended. And, we just wanted to be able to be that platform where we can provide the youth with events where they can just be able to get out of their homes and really enjoy themselves in a very low and dark time for some people, and we definitely accomplished that. And now that actually ties in with our podcast. Would you like to explain our purpose of the podcast?
Yeah, so the purpose is pretty much to serve as the conduit between the Council of Hoboken and the youth of Hoboken as well. And as females and visionaries and podcasters now, it's truly incredible, especially since the earlier this week marked the beginning of Women's Month.
Yes, and Lee and I were even chatting about this earlier this week when it marked the first day of this month, which is honoring Women's History Month. We were saying how in our own aspect, we're even trailblazers for the community in the sense of this town has never really seen anything like this. Besides just teens hosting a podcast and events for you all, it's even just teens hosting now a podcast, which we've gotten high profile guests.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's just two teens, two females running this ourselves, and that's honestly such a big thing because you don't really see that in the podcasting realm, but now you're starting to see that more.
And besides Peter B, of course.
Yes.
You don't really see that. But, we don't have, such high-profile guests as Kamala Harris, but we will get there one day. Trust me, we definitely will.
Yeah, big things are coming, and actually this week, tomorrow actually, we will be posting a new episode of the H-Town Breakdown featuring Councilman Cohen. So make sure to go and check that out, as you will be in for a treat. Leah and I learned a lot from that episode, I could say, and you will too. So make sure to check it out. You won't want to miss out.
And I know Taylor and I speak pretty eloquently up here, but actually we had zero podcasting experience beforehand, besides, a little broadcasting room in our high school studio.
Yeah, and I bet that Leah mentioned this in the previous episode where we're just senior broadcasting majors at High Tech High School in Secaucus. And how she said, our only experience in this field is essentially just hosting our own show for our class as our assignment, but that's pretty casual compared to what we do now. But the things that with the skills that we've essentially learned from what we do in school, we've been able to turn it into something really amazing that we love. And this isn't a hardship for us. This just comes naturally as it's something that we're really passionate about.
Oh yeah, it's definitely translated into, what I want to accomplish in my life. And I know Taylor for sure with her public speaking skills. But when people ask me, I'm I'm going to be the next Latina Oprah. Come on now. There's not one out there, but I'm going to be the next one. So it's amazing to, be fellow broadcasters and be in this world and realm, like our sisters Gayle King, Oprah Winfrey.
Yes, Hoda Kotb,
Savannah Guthrie.
Jenna Bush Hager. We can name them for hours. The list goes on and on. But, Lee and I, we will be teaming up again one day in the future after I become president and achieve all of my political success. we won't be foes anymore.
Oh, yeah, because another thing is I tell her, I want to be a Fortune 500 CEO, and I will
and I'm
be,
like,
of course.
we can't be buddy-buddy because, I'm not
She's
letting
going to
you
want to
off
tax
the
me all
hook.
the time. I don't
you know?
understand. So we have to, keep on camera as if we're not friends so that I
Yeah.
can evade the taxes. No, I'm just kidding. And but in secret, we're going to be having, coffee together, twice a week.
It's like she's still going to be visiting me at the White House, and the friendship bond, it's still going to be as strong as it is now, hopefully even stronger in the future, and you guys will see us reunite once again in the future, as we're both going to be very successful in our respective industries.
Yeah, but our 1 year has definitely been imperative in our friendship and, how we've grown our podcast. We used to be on Anchor. Now we're actually on Spotify and Apple, and we're on the Pulse. Come on, guys.
Yes.
That is incredible. We're also on
A
YouTube
very
as
big
well.
step, yes.
Yes, it's incredible. So we have done such incredible things, and we will continue to grow it. So
Yeah, and who would have thought that a year ago we would have been where we are today? And I'm really grateful to just be here today. Thank you so much to Peter. We appreciate it. And, with this 1 year, just looking back on what we've been able to accomplish in such a short time and with, the resources that we have, I'm pretty proud of ourselves, It's like we kept at it, even though, it was very hard to do what we've done during a time of COVID. But, we've just taken matters into our own hands, and we were just very passionate. And, we were like, you know what? We're not going to let anything come in the way. We're still going to accomplish what we want to and essentially just provide the youth of Hoboken with the resources that we wish that we had at one point in our lives. So I'm just happy that we're able to kind of just be that platform for everyone to look at. So I'm very grateful for what this year has brought us.
yes, we can tell you're super grateful, and I am as well. So I mentioned earlier that, I want to be Latino Oprah. Taylor, do you have any, one that you idolize in the broadcasting world as well?
Anyone that I idolize, man, I can name a million people. The only thing I watch when I turn on my TV is the news. I personally like Channel 4. Sorry for anyone who doesn't like Channel 4. I watch the Today Show every morning. I love turning on my TV and just seeing Savannah Guthrie, Craig, Lester Holt, Al Roker. He actually just won an award. It's I think it's the highest achieving award in the broadcasting industry. So congrats to Al Roker. We're going to shout you out a little. But yeah, I would say that probably an idol that I look up to is Lester Holt. He's someone that's a trailblazer in just the broadcasting industry, not only being a black male who's a broadcaster and who's on primetime TV, but also just someone who's been in the industry for so long and who's so well spoken. He's someone that I've been watching since I was younger, and I love watching him and just hearing him report news. I feel that I never get old. It never gets old, and I never feel tired of hearing him speak.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know Josh from the previous segment loves some Tucker Carlson. So we all know that. So I guess Taylor and Josh, you might have a little bit of a rivalry.
Yeah, Josh, sorry. Yeah, this might be the beginning of a rivalry.
But yeah, these are some incredible, incredible people. And I know I've said this word 1,000 times. You guys should actually count how many times I've said the word incredible in this segment.
Yes.
But these are really tremendous, tremendous visionaries, change agents in the world, and we aspire to be another
Yes,
set.
and we wouldn't be here without them either. So thank you to everyone in the broadcasting industry who has allowed us to accomplish what we're doing today too.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Taylor, for joining us. I'm Ncaa Garcia. Tune in for The Pulse on everything you need to know, and have a great week, everybody.